Hey everybody, welcome to Chapter 1, Section 2, Line Segments and Distance. Let's start off talking about the definition of what a line segment is. So a line segment is measured by two endpoints, and those endpoints are used to name the segment. So you might be asking yourself, how is that different from just a line? Like last section, I just gave you the definition of a line, and that's just connecting, you can draw a line between any 2 points, and you can have as many points as you want on that line. Well, if you are specifically talking about a line segment, then the difference is notation. So you see how here the notation of a line segment, it doesn't have the arrows. So if you are saying, if you are reading something and it says AB and it's got a line on top with the arrows, that's indicating it's a line. That's saying it contains those points A and B. But if it doesn't have the arrows on it, then that's saying from point A to point B. Those are your endpoints of that line. So it's like a slight difference between a line and a line segment, but it is a notable difference. You just got to pay attention to that notation, how it's written. Okay. The next thing to talk about is the betweenness of points. It's kind of a funny word, betweenness, but it literally just says that a point is in between two other points when it's on the same line, and then you can add together the two segments um, that make up the whole segment. So I'll read you the definition because I feel like I might be saying it poorly. Point M is between points P and Q if and only if P, Q, and M are collinear. P, Q, and M are collinear, and PM plus MQ equals PQ. So this little segment of PM and this smaller segment of MQ add up together to equal PQ, and that's how you know point M is in between points P and Q. So kind of makes sense when you think of it like that. Let's do some examples. We're going to find each measure, assume each figures are not drawn to scale. So here's a figure. You have line segment EG. What does that measure? Well, I'm not a huge fan of mixed numbers, but 3 over 4, if you'll recall, that's 0.75. So it's 2.75 inches. Both segments are that. So just add together 2.75 plus 2.75, you get 5.5 inches. GH. So here's this figure. GH is this missing piece. Well, if I have the whole piece and I have this piece right here, I should just subtract them. So 15 millimeters minus 9.7 millimeters is 5.3 millimeters. So these are two examples of betweenness of points, um, you know, and using line segments. Go figure, right? So, sorry, that was my office chair. It's pretty squeaky. Example C, what is the value of A? Well, I have XY and YZ, and the only thing I definitely know is what YZ is. That's 14. But I know if I add together whatever XY is and 14, um, it'll equal the whole thing of XZ, 5A minus 4. So you're going to write an equation. So I have 3A plus 14. Add together your two line segments to equal the whole line segment of xz, 5a minus 4. And then just solve for a. So you can do this in any order that you want. I prefer, when I saw these, to just get my numbers on one side and then get my letters on the other and then divide. So like I see I can add 4 to the other side, right? That'll give me 18. So 3a plus 18 equals 5a. So then I should get that 3a to the right-hand side. So I'll minus it over. So I get 18 equals 2a. How do you get rid of a number and a letter? You divide it. So 18 divided by 2 is 9. So a equals 9. I could then ask you follow-up questions like, what does xy equal? Well, xy was 3a, so do 3 times 9. That's 27. And then I can ask you, hey, what's xz equal? Well, 5a minus 4. 5 times 9, that's 45, minus 4, that's 41. And then you could always check. Remember, it's supposed to be xy plus xz, xy plus yz equals xz. So does 27 plus 14 equal 41? Yes, it does. In example D, I don't give you a picture, but I recommend you draw one because I drew one. RS and ST and then RT. So you can gather that S is somewhere in between R and T. All right. So I drew a little picture, and RS is 5x, st is 3x, and the whole thing's 48. So I'm just going to add together those two segments, 5x plus 3x equals 48, and then that makes 8x, and then I can get rid of that 8 by dividing it, and then I get 6. And then as I did before, I'll ask you a follow-up question. What does rs equal? What's 5 times 6? 30. What does st equal? What's 3 times 6? 18. How would you check it? Well, rs plus st should equal rt. So 30 plus 18 should equal 48, which it does. So yay, I didn't make a mistake. The next thing to talk about is the distance between 2 points. So the book definition is it's the absolute value of the difference between their coordinates. So see how it says x1, x2? It's like you're looking at a number line, right? You'll start with the end point and you'll subtract the original point or the beginning point. The reason why they say absolute value is because distance is always positive and absolute value always turns out a positive number. Sometimes kids get confused with this stuff, so I say you could just count. If I just give you a number line, then just count. So look, I'll calculate BE. So here's B at -6 and here's E at 2. The bookway is doing what's 2 minus -6, okay? So 2 minus -6 is going to be 2 plus 6, because when you minus a negative, it makes a plus, and that'll equal 8, which is what I wrote down right here. Or, if you get confused with negative numbers, just count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's all that we really did. But I now ask another question. Are CA and ED congruent? Well, what's CA? CA was at -4 to -7. So you would subtract the second point minus the first point. -4 minus -7. That's the same thing as -4 plus 7. So that's 3. Or you could count 1, 2, 3. And then count from, you could count from, what is it, ED? So 1, 2, 3, 4. See? So when I do 2 minus -2, I should get 4, because that's 2 plus 2. So yeah, that's their values, but no, they're not congruent. So 3 is obviously not congruent to 4. The last thing in this section is the distance formula. The square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So this is a two-dimensional thing. In the previous one, this is one-dimensional because you're just looking at the x-axis, so to speak. You're just moving side to side. It's two-dimensional because you have a y-coordinate now. So you're on a normal-looking graph, a Cartesian grid. So here I give you the coordinates for points C and D. All you got to do is plug in the first point you see, that's x1, y1. The second point you see, that's x2, y2. If I gave you third, fourth point, that's all the little numbers at the bottom mean. They're just to denote order. Okay, so I label them x1, y1, x2, y2, and then I just plug it into the formula here. So this doesn't mean square it. The square has to be at the top. This is just to denote order. The second x coordinate minus the first x coordinate. So 5 minus -4. All right. And then you can type it into your calculator all like this. If you're using a graphing calculator or scientific calculator, you can type in the square root symbol, throw in some parentheses, and type it in all like that. I did go ahead and I simplified the inside, but you don't really have to. You could type this all in, and the calculator will tell you it's about 10.3. And then a key thing to remember is that the answer is always positive. If you get a negative number, you forgot to you forgot to use parentheses. That's the most likely scenario why you got a negative number. Because anytime you square a number, you should be getting a positive number. So if I do like 3 squared, that's 9. If I do -3 squared, that's still going to make positive 9 because I'm doing -3 times -3. But you know that if you type in -3 without parentheses and then you square it, the calculator is going to tell you -9. So that's probably how you get a negative answer if you forget those parentheses. All right. Here's another example. Here's point M, there's point N. So the first point I see, I'm going to label it x1, y1. The second point I'm going to see is x2, y2. And then I'm just going to plug it into that formula. Okay? Feel free to type this in all at once. I did simplify it a little bit. This would equal 61 on the inside, but you could type it all in and then you get the answer about 7.81. So that's going to wrap it up for the notes. Thank you for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button if you feel like it, and goodbye.